Good evening and welcome to our January 27th, 2025 City Council meeting. Um, Roll call, everybody, if we have a full council. And if you'd please stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and it'll be done by Pastor Leslie McGowan from the First United Methodist Church. Is she here? Huh? Okay.
I pledge allegiance to
To
the flag of
of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Pastor McGowan here? So Mayor, if you want to call on somebody to do the invocation.
We bow our heads and ask thee for guidance and help us to do what is right for the city of Safford. We ask thee to watch over us and help us to make the right decisions in our meeting tonight and going through the agenda. We ask thee to watch all over our citizens and our employees that are out there working hard to keep the city of Safford going strong. We ask that all our leaders be watched over also in this time. And we say this. Amen.
Thank you very much. And we'll move, we'll move on to item number 5. Any comments from citizens on agenda items? Not, then we'll move on to item number 6, comments on non-agenda items from the citizens.
Mayor, do you have the cards for the non-agenda?
Yep. I have several. Paul David, or go ahead, Jerry, please. Jerry Hancock, Mary Bingham, and Sheila Hartner.
I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jerry Hancock, and I've had the opportunity to sit up there. And so I know what you're dealing with, and I appreciate that. And I didn't come to complain, I come to ask for your help. We've had some serious problems and situations on 20th Avenue. We've had a couple of accidents. One accident was there was a mother and 3 children that were hit by a vehicle going pretty fast as they were pulling out where I live. For those of you that don't know, I live right on the corner of 20th Avenue and 18th Street, just north of where Vinings Funeral Home is. And I think we probably did need that road widened because of all of the care facilities that are available on 20th. But if you stop and think about it, we have so many very, very important places for elderly and handicapped people to attend. And I just, right off the bat, I'd like to start by saying that we need the area to be patrolled and monitored more than it has been just recently. And I see the officers here, and I'm not saying anything to be mean or disrespectful at all, because I think we all can do a good job if we can work together. They did put up a radar monitoring device across the street over near the Lighthouse and Millennium Center where it shows that the speed limit on 20th is 35 miles an hour, and that's been very beneficial and been very helpful for all of us to see. But from where I live and where I sit, and my wife's there with me, and the few minutes before we came today, or this evening, we watched, and we saw everything from 49, 48, 45, and constantly, that was the speed limit going through there. What I'd like to say is there's four major apartment complexes. And one of them right across the street from where I live says senior apartment. And then there's one next to that, the Sun Valley, and then there's the one up next to the canal, and then the one up where the Haven Center is. So there's four major apartment complexes. And there are a few children, but primarily they are places for elderly and handicapped people. And a whole lot of those people have motorized wheelchairs that they go up and down the sidewalks on. And honestly, there's been a lot of almost like speeding raceway type events going on that street since we got it widened. And I would just appreciate you, and I know my neighbors would appreciate if we could get it monitored and watched a lot closer than it has been recently. And I think it's much better now since we have the speed limit sign there, the new sign, but we really need to have it monitored. And I think that what it's going to take is it's going to take people maybe getting stopped, and the public sees that they're getting stopped, they're going to slow down. Honestly, I don't want to see one person get a ticket.
Mayor, that concludes the 3 minutes. If it's up to you, if you want to allow more time.
And then do you need his address?
We got it.
Just a couple more minutes.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I get to talking too much. But having said that, I and all of these other people would like to speak, I think, too, and they've kind of thrown it on me, so that's why I'm talking so much. But having said that, this is just about everybody representing my street is here. And we just want that so we don't have any serious injuries or anybody getting hurt. The school buses stop in there, but if we could have it monitored and watched, I think it would really be beneficial for the city. We don't want anybody, I'm sure you don't want anybody. This is not a complaint. This is asking for your help. And I really, genuinely, sincerely hope that happens. Like I said, we have all of those places, and we want your support and your help. Does anybody on my street have anything that they would like to add?
Does anybody? Anything different?
If we could please have Mayor call on the cards that were submitted for the
Okay.
speaking. Thank you, Mr. Ancona.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The Mary?
And you'll have the 3 minutes if you can please state your name and address.
Mary Bingham, 2006 West 18th Street. Good evening, I'm glad to be here. I also sat where you sat and know what you're going through and appreciate you guys' service. It was my daughter-in-law and grandsons that were hit. Had they been hit by a big truck or a four-door heavy-duty pickup, there would have been fatalities. That little red truck was going 55 miles an hour when it slammed into them. And there's always a police presence down on the other end of 20th Avenue, down by the high school. And it has really made a difference in slowing people down. I'm a speeder, I'll admit to that. I'll probably get the first ticket they give out up there. But I always know that they're going to be down there. And so I always check my speed. Don't know what days they're going to be there, but I know they're going to be there. That's kind of what we're asking for up there, is that kind of police presence, where the traffic doesn't know when somebody's going to be up there and writing tickets. I hear we've got an RV park, a new RV park coming in up there on the corner of Golf Course Road and 20th. Is that correct? I assume. We've got new apartments that just went in up by the nursing home. So all that traffic's going to be funneling down onto 20th as well. And it's just become a nightmare for everybody. And there's going to be a fatality if something is not done. So that's why we're all here tonight, to see what we can get you to help with. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mary. And Sheila, did she want to speak?
My name is Sheila Hartner, and I live at 1375 South Los Diaz Place, which is just off the corner of 20th and Relation. And I can see the intersection from my living room. And at night, if I stay up late, they love to run the red lights there. They don't stop because they coming up 20th, you can see if any cars are coming off of down Relation or coming towards 20th on Relation. And sometimes there's dragging. They start right there at Relation Street and go up 20th to Golf Course. That's their, whatever you call it, their length of seeing how fast they can go. And my suggestion on the police, they're doing a wonderful job. I have no complaints, but which they may be doing it, and I'm not aware, use unmarked cars parked in maybe the doctor's offices or at that apartment for the senior living or at Mark's, because I know, just like Mary said, I know they're there, but as soon as they get to Relation, they speed on up. So maybe you need a policeman down there at the parking lot and another one up at the other end for a day or two to catch them after they go through Relation. Because as soon as they know they're out of sight of the police car down there at the high school, they speed up. Because they do that to me when I'm going home. And it's like I'm standing still. I think, oh, my car must have died. Because they've gone by me going 50 and 60 miles an hour. That's what the radar would say. And it's just something I'm concerned about. And then it's difficult for people that live on the side streets, also the hospital and the other apartment buildings, to get out sometimes because there's just a lot of traffic now. And I think that's what's caused a few of the accidents, because people can't judge how fast these cars are coming. They think they're coming the speed limit, and they're not. And just as another suggestion, I don't know if it's the city or if it's ADOT. If there was a arrow turn signal at 8th and 20th, like we have up at their Relation, that might stop some of the fender benders that happen there, because I know there's always a fender bender. But it's just, we've got to, I commend our police officers, and I commend the city council for listening, but we do need something done. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anybody else? Those are the three that I had. Okay.
Mayor, that was the 3 for the 20th Avenue, and then there should be one from
Yes.
Paul David.
Paul David.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor and managers. Thank you for your time and counsel. I'd like to talk about 20th Avenue, a little different though. About less than 2 months ago, Lance Henry, in a meeting, he listened as I asked for some assistance in mitigating a hazard, or what I thought could be a potential hazard at the safe house. The people at the safe house were amazed. I think 2 or 3 days later, the crew was there. They put barriers up to protect the north side of the building, and then for the west side of the building, they put barriers up, and then they put some bollards, deep bollards, to protect errant vehicles from going through and hitting a frame structure. a tremendous response to a request, much faster. Our vice mayor is a board member. What a success story. Thank you very, very much. Is Lance here? Oh, thank you, Lance. Two other things. Right across from the county building is the park, the Old Firth Park. And I am there early and late and see that park being utilized. It's one of the nicest parks in town. It's tremendous, and thank you very much for that. And then finally, thank you, was down at the Samaritan House for, several times. We did a point-in-time count to try to gauge the number of homeless people in our county and Greenlee County. And each time I've been there, it's during the daylight hours that it's open, the respite center. It's fully utilized. And I've heard a number of people on these pit counts said, thank goodness for the hot showers and the snacks and the resources that are available there, and the laundry. It brings quality of life and dignity to people, not just the chronic homeless, but other people who are struggling and will make the transition back into homes as they're able to. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Linda, did you want to address the council now or on the landfill fees?
Mayor, she had requested to speak during the actual item, so at the beginning of the item.
Oh, okay. Well, we can wait till then. Okay, then we'll go ahead and close, reconvene our regular meeting and convene into a work session. The work session, it'll be open meeting law training. B, turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I present to you tonight to the request to hold a work session so I can provide the elected officials and also the board and committee members with an overview of the open meeting law. This is to ensure a thorough understanding of its provisions, discuss practical applications, and address any questions or concerns. Background on this is the open meeting law ensures the meetings of public bodies are conducted openly, fostering accountability and public trust. The law outlines specific requirements regarding meeting notices, agendas, public participation, and permissible executive sessions. So the recent updates or legal interpretations may necessitate adjustments to the current practices, and I've created a slideshow that I'll be presenting today. And we do have our attorney, Bill Sims, on the line, so if you have any questions, please feel to interrupt me at any time, and you can ask to myself or Bill.
You there?
Bill, are you present?
He's on the Teams.
Okay, yeah, he's present.
So the purpose of the
I'm here. Sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry, I'm here.
Thank you, sir.
So the purpose of the open meeting law is the public policy of the state that meetings of the public bodies be conducted openly and that the notices and agendas for those meetings may contain such information as reasonably to inform the public of the matters to be discussed or decided. And this is on Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.09. So the question is, what is a public body? The definition from state statute is all boards and commissions of political subdivisions, all multi-member governing bodies of departments, agencies, institutions, and instrumentalities of the political subdivisions, including without limitation all corporations and other instrumentalities whose board of directors are appointed or elected by the state or political subdivision, including standing special or advisory committees or subcommittees of or the appointed by such public body. So in this case, other committees within the city of Safford would be like our Parks and Rec committee that's appointed by the council, or the planning and zoning as well. So the advisory committee is a committee that is officially established upon motion and order of the public body or by the presiding officer of the public body, and whose members have been appointed for the specific purpose of making a recommendation concerning a decision to be made or to considered, or a course of conduct to be taken or considered by the public body. The exceptions are any staff meetings, staff-appointed committees that advise the staff, that's not necessarily the public body, and any single department head meetings. So why do we need to follow the open meeting law? As a public official, you have the responsibility to abide by the law. This gives the public the right to attend and listen to how the public business is being conducted. It avoids decisions being made behind closed doors. It promotes accountability by encouraging responsive and responsible actions, and it maintains integrity and builds trust between you and the people you were elected or appointed to represent. So what is a meeting? The definition is the gathering in person or through technological devices of a quorum of the members of the public body at which they discuss, propose, or take legal action. This is also including any deliberations by a quorum with respect to that action. It also includes a one-way electronic communication by one member of the public body that is sent to a quorum of the members of the public body and the purposes of legal action. So an exchange of electronic communications among a quorum of the members of the public body that involves the discussion, deliberation, or taking of legal action by the public body concerning a matter likely to come before the public body for action. So just to reference on this, if you ever notice when I send out an email to all council, you probably don't see who are the recipients to it because I send it as a BCC to avoid it becoming a violation of open meeting law. So in case you ever question why you can't see who got sent to it. So whatever I send to one council member, if it's for the entire council, all council receives it, and I put it as BCC. That way when you hit reply all, we're not jeopardizing the open meeting law. So attending by phone. If there's a problem reaching a quorum, participation by telephone is okay. But the public must be able to hear the person on the phone or the electronic media. The person on the phone or the electronic media must be able to hear everyone at the meeting. And the participation on the phone or the electronic media must be noted on the agenda. So for example, let's say Councilwoman Bratner is not able to be here in person, but she can be on the phone. I just have to make sure, just how Bill is here tonight, that she can hear the whole meeting and everyone present at the meeting can hear her. So and then I have to note it on the agenda that her being part of the public body would be joining by phone. So what is a quorum? A quorum is the majority of the full membership of the public body unless otherwise noted in statute or governing documents. You can refer to Arizona Revised Statute 1-216B. The minimum number of the members of the public body required to conduct the business. So how is a quorum affected by disqualifications due to conflict of interest? A disqualified member present at the meeting may not be counted for quorum purposes to discuss or decide the particular matter for which the member is disqualified. For example, if it's a 5-member board and it has 3 members present, but one of the members has declared that there's a conflict for them, the board cannot proceed on that matter until another member attends. So quorums at special or social events. A social event is defined as a function or an outing at a given place or time, typically involves an entertainment. If more than a quorum will be present at the social event, a courtesy agenda may be posted announcing. And it'll announce the event, that the quorum may be present, a statement that no business of the public body will be discussed and no action will be taken. And again, a courtesy agenda is not required. I do tend to send out, again, an all council email whenever I do post a quorum notice. I think we cover those for the most part anytime that we feel that the whole council's been invited to an event, we post that quorum notice just to be on the safe side. So social media considerations. If a complaint is filed alleging that you use social media to circumvent the open meeting law, the Attorney General must determine if you were in a meeting. Is it a gathering? Social media platforms or electronic communications? Was there a gathering of the quorum on social media? So you want to question, are a quorum of the members your friends or your followers? And has the public received a notice? Were you discussing any legal action? Are you posting any opinions and ideas about various issues? Did other members comment on your post? Did you exchange any comments with them? There really is no clear guidance on social media. It's still fairly fresh and still growing. So just be cautious with your communications on social media. Some best practices when you're participating in social media is do not friend or follow any of your fellow members of the public body or be selective about which pages to follow versus it's your personal page or if you have a professional social media page. If you choose to friend or follow other members, do not post about any business within the scope of the public body. Do not comment on their post or friends of friends post of other members if the matter relates to business of the public body or any legal action. Do not create a message group that include a quorum of the public body about matters that may come before the public body. So you might ask yourself, then who can I talk to? Well, you can definitely talk to other council members if there is less than a quorum and no effort to circumvent by law by splintering the quorum. The best practice is to avoid using electronic mediums if discussing council business is too easy to accidentally transmit to other members. You are not discussing matters you can talk to other council members if you're not discussing any matters coming before the council. You can talk to staff, including your city or town attorney and your constituents. You may copy the full council on responses, but be careful that no one hits reply all and begins a discussion. You can speak to the media. Public officials may express opinion publicly if it is not principally directed at another member and it is not part of a concerted plan to engage in collective deliberation. And if you need a reference to the state statute, it's 38-43109, Section B. So notice of meetings. We notice each meeting to the members and the public. This makes it possible for the public to attend the meeting. It informs the public of when and where the meeting will be held, and it provides the means for how the public will get the information regarding the matters under consideration. For our responsibility at the clerk's office is we must post that meeting notice at least 24 hours before the meeting. We must include the date, time, and the place of the meeting, along with the address, if there's a room number or any other identifying information. We also posted physical copies at City Hall and at the board here outside of the library program room.
Dee,
Yes.
could you go back to that prior page? Where could you explain about communicating with staff, including the city or attorney in that? I mean, just what does that mean?
So Mayor
And I
Ortega,
can talk to staff, but can I tell them what to do?
no.
I mean,
So
yeah.
per city code with the council and staff communication, it does have to go through the chain of command, which would go through our city manager, John Casella, and then he would direct staff. Council is not allowed to direct staff, and that's per our city code. You can speak to them and ask questions if you'd like, but you cannot give direction to staff to do any work or give them duties.
Thank you.
Yes.
On the same question like the mayor had, when we talk to city staff, now you have a form that is filled out on what the subject is, who you spoke to, as much information as you can get. Can we be given a copy of that so that we can follow it, where it's going, and update?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Lopez, yeah, you're more than welcome to request it. You would have to do the public record request. Anyone can do that request for that form. Once we make the form, it is a public record, so you're more than welcome to do a request for that.
That we would have to fill out a public request
Yes.
to get that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it applies to anybody, elected officials, staff, or the public. If you want to have a copy of that for our records, we need to have the public record request form submitted.
Do we have to do it each time we have a question on that form?
If you're going to be requesting the document, you can request a specific document. You can also just provide one that's kind of open-ended, and then we would provide that. My process on that is I would probably send it out to all council, just so everyone has the same information.
I mean, like, when we get that form at first, like the subject matter we have tonight with 20th, if we made a request and it got started, and as it progressed, we would have to ask for that each time there was something that happened?
You could submit a public record request to kind of keep it open-ended so you keep receiving any information for that. But if at any point the topic is closed and then it kind of gets reopened, then you would want to resubmit another public record request for that.
Okay.
So I'd like to ask the attorney a question. Bill, are you there?
Yeah, yes.
So We supply council with all kinds of information in terms of, let's say, revenue estimates on a regular basis. So every month, Matthew will send out to council a document. Now, they don't make a public records request of that. Would this type of document, all it is a document by which we try to keep track of, because we've had some things where, things may fall through the cracks or we forget items. So it was created internally by me so we could track stuff when it comes in. Is it necessary that there actually be a public records request? And why would that be different than just sending them a revenue request?
Well, I want to back my clerk. I think what the clerk is saying, but I think you raised a good point regarding internal communications and within the city. B, I don't know that we need a formal public records request. Having said that, I do not think council should share the information with others. I think B or you, it's perfectly fine for the manager or the clerk to send information to all the counselors. It's not perfectly fine, for example, if one counselor has had a discussion with a staff person regarding something to come before council. I think it's fair for B or you to share information. It wouldn't be appropriate for the counselor to share that information. But B's right. I mean, to be formal, a public records request is essential, but it could grind you to a halt. And so I tend to agree. B, I tend to agree with John that we probably can figure out a more informal way to allow communications documents for the council.
Yeah, because I think that, as is the case with the revenue, we're simply keeping council informed as to
Yeah.
day-to-day operations of the internal workings of the city. I would think that this would be similar to that, so we should be able to supply that. For example, every month I send the revenue report. I could send with that revenue report the monthly requests that we've received, as just a part of administratively informing council of the internal activities of the city.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that direction we could give during a work session?
Well, yeah, I think there's been a request. I don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm clarifying, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, Bill. I mean, I think it's been requested by a council member. I have no trouble supplying that. I don't think we need a formal vote to make
No,
that.
we don't. I think facilitating communication between staff and the council is a good idea. We don't need a formal direction. We heard you, and it can occur. I think the only reason clerks they have the ombudsman and the AG watching over them. That's why she said you should go down the formality of a public records request. I think that would be, in terms of the day-to-day operations of a council, that would be challenging. I think you could do it informally through the manager or the clerk.
So, in response to you, Vice Mayor, I would just assume if council would like copies of those forms, every month when I send out a revenue report, I can send out the request form with that. It would just,
I don't want a copy of it just because I want a copy of it. I'd like to know the progress, where it's at. Like if I request what you're doing on 20th Avenue,
Sure.
and then I ask 3 days later, and you tell me this and this took place, that you guys are asking me to be formal, I would like it back.
sure. Yeah, I think we'll put it out there every month as part of the revenue report, and then that will give us an opportunity to let everybody see whatever requests come in from a council member, and then we'll keep it in front of everybody. We go out over it in our staff meetings now, so the whole idea is it provides us as staff with a formal way to review. So let's say something is discussed and I know nothing about it. This is a way for me to find out, hey, there was contact made, there was discussion, and obviously direction shouldn't be given, but if there's an inquiry regarding information, then we can fill that out and get it back to council. And at least I know it happened, as opposed to, just having contact be made and then I know nothing about it. So we will supply those to council with the revenue reports, and then you'll be able to monitor what's requested. And if there's anything within those requests that has not been returned, because we shouldn't be obviously directing staff with those, but there may be inquiries as for things like information. This will allow everybody to see what's out there and make sure that we're getting it back to you.
So it says with staff, we can speak with staff. Well, from what I've understood is I can speak to Brad and I can speak to Mayor about something. That's 3, right? I can't speak to 4 people about that. But I speak to John, John tells Mayor, Mayor tells Luke, Mayor tells Brad, Mayor tells Alma. Now we've violated, right? So how are we going about, if I speak to John or I speak to Eric, and then they go and tell mayor, how are we stopping that violation from happening?
Very
Because
good question.
I was gonna
Very
say
good
Phil
question.
could probably answer that for you.
No, that's a very good question. And there's two components to this question. Let's first go with the staff reports. I think if you ask information, you're allowed to ask for information. And I think when that information is given to one counselor, it should be given to all. But if you embed in that information, I want information about chip sealing because I think this street should be chip sealed. That takes it beyond inquiry to a proposed action. And if that goes to a quorum, that's a violation. Now, council member, your question about the communication to the manager. The manager is the way, he can't repeat what you said. He can't say council member so-and-so believes this. But what he can say is that I believe that these are the kinds of issues that need to get addressed by council. He just can't identify a specific comment to a counselor because if that goes, and it's more than inquiry, it's more about actions that council can take. If he ties a proposed action to an individual, that can't go to 4. But what most managers do is they talk to all of you, they get information, that helps the manager understand where you are, and then he makes proposals, knowing what you've told him, but he can't repeat to all of you what you personally told him. Is that confusing? Are you
And
clear? Am
generally,
I?
when you make an inquiry, if I make a response, it goes to everyone.
no, I
Yeah.
wasn't, I was just
No,
asking, like,
she raised a
No, I'm
really good
saying
point.
that from the standpoint of something coming into me, based on the email I sent out, for example, we have a budget guidance and expectations document. Within that document, it says that any written material sent to one council member goes to them all. So you don't necessarily have to reveal the source of the request, but if you respond to it, then you respond to everyone. You don't have to say, Councilwoman Brantner contacted me for X, but you can say I've been contacted, and therefore in responding to you, I respond to everyone.
mine was
That would work.
more of a different.
Like a daisy chaining kind of thing.
Mine was more of I think I had talked to you about something specific and it got talked to the mayor and then it went to 3 other counselors. And so I wanted to make sure that I hadn't violated because I spoke with you and then it got shared amongst other counselors and then it got voted on that night. So I just want to make sure we weren't in violation of.
Could I jump in with a clarification? I understand exactly what you're saying. Isn't there an element of one-on-one to that doesn't cause it to be a violation? In other words, if you speak to John and then John speaks to me and then John, we're not in violation of open meeting law because those were all one-on-one. We're only in violation when it's,
I
But
think it's if
the
you
attorney
daisy
just
chain the
said-
information.
Yeah, because I'm telling him something, he's telling you I said, so now you know how I'm voting, and then he tells
Right.
the mayor, he knows how
and
I'm
I guess what
voting.
John's saying is he doesn't say who said.
Generally, no, I don't.
So if you pull everybody, you're not in violation of the open meeting law?
No, I have to talk with all the council members.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the attorney said. You can do that as long as you don't share the information. So I just want to make sure that is what he said.
Okay.
You can pull all of us on something, and as long as you don't tell anybody else what we told you, you're good to go.
I think that's what he said.
Yes, that's what I said. For example, he couldn't go and say there's 4 votes to approve the subdivision and then confidently tell one of you that there's 4 votes. What he can say is there is support for the subdivision and we'll talk about it.
I have a different question, B. When you post this on the agenda, this is what we get here publicly. But on the website, can the public get the same thing I get in my notes?
For the entire agenda packet,
Yes.
that's what's posted on the website, is the entire,
So
yeah.
they can see what I get,
right.
what I'm going to be taking into consideration, what I have to study prior.
Yeah, the entire
There-
agenda packet that you receive when I send that email notifying you that it's been posted, they can see everything.
Okay.
And the same thing, once I do my minutes, anything that is brought forward and wasn't part of the agenda packet, I have to by law include it on the minutes that was presented.
Because lots of times we make decisions and people wonder, how'd you do that fast? You didn't even talk about it or anything, but we have that
It's in the
information
packet.
prior.
Yeah,
It's, the public can get it too.
right.
And- Okay,
Yep, they can
Good.
come, and they can get a copy of it, just what is received by all council. The only thing that is not shared is anything in executive session, of course.
They got to fill out a paper for that?
Nope, it's already posted online. And I want to
Okay.
clarify on that. I misunderstood you. I thought you meant if for a specific council form, that's when I would have done a public record request if you wanted a specific form. The council form that
I
we
know,
did
okay.
design also has like a trail where you select if it needs a follow-up, and so it stays in our inbox. So that's kind of where we wanted to make sure that we were not losing things in the cracks of communication from council to staff. So when we do that council communication form, we get notified staff was contacted by council, and then you can select there if it needs any type of follow-up.
Thank you, B.
You're welcome.
And that is one of the main reasons why we're having this conversation tonight. We're going to do something similar with the budget process, because I think we all can use a refresher on the open meetings law. And so the idea is that by the time we hit the first or second meeting in January every year, we'll do this again as a reminder and a refresher, because if we get a newly elected council member, they'll be seated in December. So if we do a refresher on the open meetings law every January, then you get to have a refresher. We all get reminded of how it works, what we can and can't do. So that's a big reason why we're doing this tonight. I wanted to start doing some training on open meetings law and let us all really formally hear how it works, so we all are reminded on what we can and can't do. And I think by doing it on a regular basis, it'll start to stick a little more, because obviously if you don't hear it for a year, sometimes you forget provisions or you have questions. So I think this will be helpful. And like I said, I want to do this with the budgeting, do a 101 that has basic information about budgets, terminology and stuff. So it'll be like our own little mini training sessions that we'll do every year. So that's why we're doing this tonight.
All right. So again, the notice of meetings, we post it within 24 hours, at least 24 hours. The practice generally with the clerk's office is we post the Wednesday before the Monday's meeting. Any amendments that are made, we also send out a notification that there's been amendments to the agenda, and I can only do that up to 24 hours before the meeting. Pre-meeting requirements is a disclosure statement that tells the public where all the meeting notices will be posted. Again, we post it at the clerk's office, at City Hall, and at the board here outside of the library. So the agenda is required to have the time, date, and the place of the meeting. It needs to list the specific matters that will be discussed, considered, or decided at the meeting. Again, action may only be taken if it's listed on one of the items. Discussing items not listed on the agenda is an open meeting law violation. So for example, if we started having a whole conversation on like the 20th Street discussion that was had out during the non-agenda items and that turned into council talking to the public, we can't do that. That's a violation. And the purpose of that is because we want to give everyone the fair chance to be here when something's going to be discussed. And then the agendas must contain such information that is reasonably necessary to inform the public of the matters to be discussed or decided. So the public rights. The public has the right to attend, listen, tape record, or videotape. The public does not have the right to speak, disrupt, and is the call to the public required? No. So we do have typically a call to the public, which is the comment on agenda or non-agenda items. We have had a couple meetings after I got clarification from the Ombudsman group that we actually do not need to have a call to the public. So if we're having like a work session and there's not any other items that will be discussed on that agenda, we usually don't do a call to the public on those meetings. The calls to the public, again, is not required, but if you have them, the only responses allowed from council is to respond to criticism, ask the staff to review a matter, and ask that the matter be placed on a future agenda. We can limit the time, which here for City of Safford, we do the 3 minutes, and I typically will call it. It is 3 minutes, and it's up to mayor if he wants to allow additional time. They may require the speakers on the same side with no new comments to select a spokesperson. So like tonight, if there had been 15 people here to discuss the 20th Street issue or 20th Avenue issue, they could select one person. Mayor could say, please, just one person speak on behalf of the entire group. And then you also may set ground rules for civility, language, and treat everyone the same. This is a duty imposed on the chair, or here's the mayor, and it's not always easy. So it is up to the mayor to keep the order of the meeting during that time. So executive session agendas, they must only include a general description of the matters to be considered, and this is located on the State Statute 38-431.02. And it has items from 1 through 9, and they're very specific, the items that we can discuss in executive session. They need not contain information that would defeat the purpose of the executive session, compromise the legitimate privacy interest of a public officer, appointee, or employee, and compromise the attorney-client privilege. And so who can attend the executive session? The members of the public body. Although the public body may permit the public officer, appointee, or employee who is the subject of discussion to attend the executive session, the open meeting law does not specify whether that person has the right to attend. Individuals whose presence is reasonably necessary in order for the public body to carry out its executive session responsibilities. And then, of course, the attorney is always usually present for the legal advice. So the meeting pitfalls: whispering to each other or texting your fellow members on the dais, privately using modern technology, a quorum of the members begins to talk to individuals before the meeting officially starts or after the meeting officially ends, indicating how you will vote, including gestures prior to the meeting, engaging in discussion with speakers during the call to the public, or poor reception if a member is participating in the meeting by telephone or other electronic device. So what if there is an open meeting law violation? Unless ratified, all legal action is null and voided. So per State Statute 38-431-05, Section 8, the ratification of failure to follow the open meeting law is the ratification shall take place at a public meeting within 30 days after the discovery of violation or after such discovery should have been made by the exercise of reasonable diligence. The notice for the meeting shall include a description of the action to be ratified, a clear statement that the public body purposes to ratify a prior action, and information on how the public may obtain the detailed written description of the action to be ratified. The public body shall make available to the public a detailed written description of the action that will be ratified and all deliberations, consultations, and decisions by the members of the public body that proceed and relate to such action. The written description shall also be included as part of the minutes of the meeting at which ratification is taken. The public body shall make available to the public the notice and detailed description required by this section at least 72 hours in advance of the public meeting at which ratification is taken. So any complaints and violations, they call it OMLET, O-M-L-E-T. So the Attorney General's Open Meeting Law Enforcement Team, that's what OMLET stands for. They handle all the inquiries, they conduct the investigations, and any enforcement proceedings relating to the complaints of the violations of the open meeting law. Investigations conducted when OMLET receives a signed written complaint that describes conduct that is verified would be a violation. So in failure of us to comply with the Attorney General, there will be possible filing of action in Superior Court for an order to enforce the demand. Also, failure to comply with the court equals the possible contempt of court, injunctive order against conduct that is subject to investigation. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, B.
And we'll go ahead and move on to item number 2, Parks and Recreation recommendation for the naming of the park. Jamie?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for the Mayor and City Council to hold a work session to review the public input received by the Parks and Recreation Committee for the naming of 2 new parks. Strategic goals addressed are quality of life, public information, and outreach. The background: the Mayor and City Council passed a naming policy in November of 2023, which the Parks and Recreation Committee used to solicit public input for names of the 2 new parks on El Paso Boulevard and Discovery Boulevard. The Parks and Recreation Committee reviewed the information provided at a public open house, survey data, and information provided at their meeting by residents. After reviewing this information, they created a presentation for the council to review. Staff recommends that the Mayor, Jason Couts Park be the name for the park on 8th and Discovery, and that the Owens Family Park be the name for the park on El Paso Park. And then the committee members have a slideshow presentation for you.
Good evening, Mayor Ortega, members of the council, city manager, and the rest of the staff. My name is Tim Linden. I'm the vice chair of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. Unfortunately for y'all that Nora Rogers couldn't make it, so you have to put up with me. And that was a tough act to follow, so thanks for that. Anyways, so we've worked through the past 3 years trying to, work with the community, work with the city council to develop a plan, our collaboration at work. So basically, the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee was formed to aid the council in the design, amenities, and naming of our parks, current and future, with feedback from the community. We have met monthly for 3 years. We have made recommendations for consideration to the council. Our committee meetings or sessions assigned by council, including community outreach surveys, movie nights, cleanup days, beautification projects, and inclusive play equipment, family engaged amenities, and park naming suggestions. Go to slide. Go the other, right here. There you go. All right. Sorry. So, go one more. There we go. All right. So, we would like to remind the council of our original vision that we presented before you in the August of 2021 council meeting. The vision of the City of Safford Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee is to provide a safe, all-inclusive recreational amenities that support and sustain local culture and community. There you go. As far as slide number 5, I want to pick item number 5, which discusses stakeholders, donors will be recognized at each location. Next slide. What defines a person as a legend? Basically, I was going to let Tad talk about this and present this.
Yeah, what is a legend? Just by the dictionary definition, they are famous and admired by a lot of people. I can think of, people walking in I haven't seen in a couple of years, and people that I work with regularly that I would consider legends sitting right in this room. And I hope that the traffic slows down on 20th. But a legend is a person that leaves behind an unforgettable impression of on others. They touch lives. They're remembered. They're cherished. There are all sorts of legends in this world, famous or not. Becoming one's means finding your particular role, your calling, following it, and touching other lives around you. So we really like the idea of having a park named after and having the opportunity to recognize so many people in our community that have served and lifted youth, older people, help establish neighborhoods, kind of thing. So that was the idea behind the idea of Legend Park.
And one point of discussion that you had raised at one of our meetings, which was an open meeting, so we're good. But I'd like you to talk to him about Frith Park and what came up in that meeting.
Yeah, so we, I grew up with, I'm speaking for myself, but I never knew what Frith Park was. We had a meeting, I believe it was in December, and we talked about who Frith was, and it was named after a person in the 40s, I believe. Does anybody know who Frith Park is named after? Exactly.
That's what we came up with.
So, growing up, we had a gazillion birthdays at Frith Park. I had
Tad,
my
just-
first 8 birthdays
Tad?
there.
Tad, real quick, could you please speak into the mic? It's me.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It won't pick up. The microphones are so good. If we step away, it won't hear pick it up.
Okay, sorry about that. So, we've had parties at Frith Park, lots of things going on, the pools there, the skate things there, and nobody knew who Frith was, and a young man brought it to our attention, and it kind of made us set us back and said, what does that mean? So, we liked the idea and where we were going, and so we looked at the data that was sent back to us, which you will see here, That was, you guys asked us to go to the public and collect data. So where we landed on it was using the names, am I going too fast? Using the names that we came up with were Legends Park and Communities Partners Park. And we thought, with your guys's suggestion of and kind of what our task was, we felt like the two responses that corresponded with what our ideas were the Owens family, because of their generosity, their building up of communities, the pride that they have in the city and the Safford, that they would be ultimately a name of a park, and the community, kind of the community sponsors, the community helpers would be something that people would say, hey, those people are like the Owens family. And that's kind of our measuring stick would be the Owens family for that park. And then the Legends Park would still be able to have other people, but Mayor Couts, I think he had the biggest response of anyone. His love for the music and the band shell and some of the stuff that we're doing at that park kind of made sense to have it named after him, and then going on with other people that have done incredible things for our community as well. So, oop, go back one more. Right there.
Yeah, that works. So the Parks and Rec Committee met on December 19th and January 6th to discuss the community survey results. The results indicate that 48% or 118 residents said yes, and 51% or 123 residents said no. And that was specifically calling the park Legends Park. The feedback showed that Mayor Jason Couts received the majority of the votes, which was 97. This number was far and above any other person that was suggested in the results. The second highest vote count of 7 was Owens family. Parks and Rec Committee agrees to the data provided by the public. We would like to recommend that the park on Discovery Park and 8th, which Ted's already alluded to, be named after Mayor Jason Couts. We would suggest that that there is a plaque placed that continues with the committee's vision as a local legend. His name will be the community's model and representation of who a legend is in our community. We would also like to suggest that future endeavors of listing legends in our community, where residents can purchase a brick or submit applications to recognize legends. These legends could potentially be recognized annually at a city council meeting and listed within the historical documents of the city of Safford. Slide 8. The survey indicates that the park in El Paso, that 54% or 130 residents suggested that they would like to name the park Community Partners Park, and naming additional amenities, and 45% or 109 votes said no. The Parks and Rec Committee voted to recommend naming El Paso Park after the Owens family. The Owens family has played a significant role in our community and partnering with groups and organizations in the development of housing development, service, and much more. We would like to share our discussion that we also recognize the Owens family with a community partners plaque, and explains their partnership and service to our communities over the years. Continuing with the discussion from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee to allow opportunities to recognize past, present, and future families, organizations, and nonprofits. Additionally, community partners could potentially be recognized annually at a city council meeting and listed within the historical documents of Safford. Names could be listed on a plaque or a brick, same as what we discussed for the park on 8th and Discovery. Our committee met on January 6th. We discussed the naming policy and how to incorporate our ideas of using legend, and also taking into consideration the data we received from the survey. Based on the votes cast by the community and our committee, voted on naming the two parks. The first after Mayor Jason Couts on 8th and Discovery, and the second park on El Paso after the Owens family. Both votes were unanimous by the committee. Any questions?
I just say thanks for all the effort you've put into this. I know it's been a long 3 years in a lot of
Well,
respects, but
we're basically working for you. So you tell us what to do. That's
you've
what we
come
do.
to a good conclusion, I think.
I totally agree, and I want to thank you for, especially for Jason Count, because he gave so much to the city, and all the way up to the end when he was traveling back and forth after his treatments and all that, and still coming, well, sitting right here, helping the city. So no, I'm very happy with it all. Same with with Owen, Heavy, and all that. They've done a lot. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Mayor, I thought they raised some interesting points on like First Park, and I'm wondering if, based on even within the policy, that we couldn't return and put some kind of plaque in First Park as well to commemorate and to acknowledge who that was and what their contribution was. And also this idea of bricks and plaques, I think there's some opportunity even with pathways like within the parks where you could put smaller monuments with names with a brief biography or something of individuals as you add them in, so that it actually would be part of the aesthetic of walking the park and there'd be names, so almost like a trail of fame, if you will. But I think there are opportunities for us to add additional names within the park in a way that fits the aesthetic, but also I think answers some really excellent points they made, which is how do we commemorate and allow those who may come in later years to remember who these people were. So I think it's something to look at going forward.
I think they'll be doing a lot more work for us, and sure appreciate it. And we'll go on to item number 3. That's the airport terminal and design session. Hey, Cameron.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and Council to hold a work session to discuss proposed designs for the new airport terminal building. The strategic goals for this session are growth and development. So some background, in the current fiscal year budget, Council approved $175,000 in funding to design a new terminal building at the airport. The existing terminal building was constructed in the 1950s and does not meet current demand or adequately support airline service space requirements. Construction of the new terminal building is budgeted in the next fiscal year, with the majority of the funding for the project being funded by FAA grant funds under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Airport Terminals Program. This is a 5-year program, and this is the final year of that program. The city contracted with Michael Taylor Architects of Prescott to complete an initial design for the terminal building through the airport's on-call contract with Dibble Engineers as a subconsultant for the airport for airport engineering and planning services. Michael Taylor has completed initial designs for the building, and Dibble has completed an initial site plan. Staff has worked closely with the design team to ensure that the proposed terminal building meets current and future demands at the airport. The new terminal building is designed to be a welcoming gateway for travelers visiting the Gila Valley. Staff is also in active communication with the Federal Aviation Administration regarding the project scope and design to ensure that the project is, quote, right-sized in accordance with FAA standards and will be eligible for federal grant funding. And we plan to apply for construction funding this summer when the notice of funding opportunity is released. It could be anywhere between June and August, depending on when they release that the notice of funding opportunity. With that, I'll go ahead. We have a presentation for you. I also have Michael Taylor with Michael Taylor Architects, Dwayne Dana with Dibble. He's our civil engineer for this project, and Jenny Watts, she's our planner, so she's making sure that this project meets FAA requirements. So with that, I will go ahead and share my presentation. And as a reminder, if you have any questions for me at any point during this this presentation, please feel free to interrupt me. And if I'm not able to answer it, the engineer and the architect will be able to provide that insight. All right, so a quick overview. We're going to cover the external design elements for this building, the exterior, and our design choices, the floor plan, and the site plan and the parking lot. So of course, first we have to cover what the objectives are for this project. So First and foremost, the idea is to create a modern facility to serve as a gateway for travelers coming into and out of the Gila Valley. As you can see in the image on the right, all of you have visited the airport terminal building. It's a relatively small building at just about 1,000 square feet. And it was constructed by the Army following the war, or actually potentially during the war. We're still not sure on the records on that. And it's an uninsulated concrete block building with no ability for future expansion. And if you've ever had more than about 8 people in that building, it gets pretty tight pretty quickly. So obviously we want to expand capacity for future business growth, both for the airline and for the potential for other businesses that utilize a terminal building for general aviation customers. We want to also allow for future airline expansion to include the potential for TSA screening. We've launched airline service. Currently, all of our airline passengers are traveling to Phoenix Sky Harbor in what is referred to as a non-sterile status, meaning they have not been screened by TSA and therefore they have to go through TSA once they reach Phoenix. And a popular incentive for small communities is offering TSA in the small community. So when you reach Phoenix, you're already screened, you're able to hop on your major airline flight, and screening times are much shorter when you have only a maximum of 8 other people in line for TSA in front of you versus potentially hundreds. And obviously, space for new services in general.
Say that again. When you go from our ship to there, you're going to go in that 8 group ahead of everybody else at TSA?
So, Vice Mayor, Vice Mayor, if you were screened already here in Safford, you'd be able to go directly into Phoenix Sky Harbor and hop on directly on American Airlines or Southwest Airlines flight. Right now, as you saw when we took that flight to Phoenix, we shuttle you around, and then once you arrive at the terminal, you go through TSA there, and then you have to deal with longer wait times, although Sky Harbor is pretty good. Of all airports, their wait times are usually less than 15 minutes for TSA.
I was hoping to jump the line.
Well, we could jump the line if we had TSA at the airport. Because we're only running 9-seat aircraft, you'd only have a maximum of 8 other people in line in front of you. So it does make the lines move along relatively quickly. So first of all, I'll orient you to the site plan for the terminal in general. So at the very top of that image is the current existing terminal, and directly to the right of it is the light vault building that houses our emergency generator and the lighting systems for the airport. The existing parking lot is there for the most part. The site plan kind of shows the new terminal planned site in dark gray. There used to be an old terminal or an old hangar on that site that had some issues with rot that we ended up having to tear down for safety concerns. So this building would go on that site and would replace that building. It's already in a site with most of the existing utilities within a relatively short distance, and obviously the parking lot's there. We would, part of this plan would be to potentially increase space for passenger parking, just because as the airline continues to grow, we're going to need that. As you probably saw when you visited the terminal, we are utilizing the gravel lot to the south of the terminal building. And this is something that we can potentially phase, obviously, depending on cost and depending on grant funding. Of anything in this project, this would be the easiest to potentially wait to do the parking lot, but we are still designing it so we could do it in the future. And also improving passenger traffic flow. So as you can see in this image, the idea is directly by the terminal, you actually have a drop-off lane. So right now, when you come to the terminal, you have to park and then walk to the front door. There's no way to drop passengers easily without impeding the flow of traffic, and this design would fix that. And this would also add additional handicap access spots right there by the terminal as well. Okay, so a quick design overview before we take a look at the actual images of the design. So there's essentially 3 portions to this design, the ground floor and the mezzanine and then the parking area. So the ground floor itself is currently designed to be approximately 4,400 square feet, house a rental car office, an airline office, similar to what we have in the existing terminal, with the addition of some additional space for baggage storage and handling. A passenger waiting area, a large conference room that could potentially in the future be converted to TSA space if we chose to go down that road, and restrooms. And then a small mezzanine above the conference room / future TSA screening area that could hold offices and a small conference room that we could potentially use for additional businesses in the future. We could potentially lease that space out or use it ourselves. And then the parking area has a total of 49 parking spaces with 2 ADA accessible parking spaces. So the exterior design, in order to reduce cost, this is designed as a prefabricated or pre-engineered metal building with extensive use of glass windows and doors. Obviously, the airport sits up on the mesa and has great views of the mountain and of the mine and the airport itself. So we wanted to capitalize on that location and allow visitors to have a great view of Safford the minute they would walk off the aircraft and be able to see Mount Graham.
Cameron,
Yes, Mayor.
on the drop-off area, would there be a place, like say for a handicap van to drive up there, like say if it has passengers?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. So if I can direct you to the image, you can see that drop-off lane right there in front of the terminal. The area that's kind of dotted right there, that's the sidewalk, so that van could pull right up to the edge, offload passengers, and then also there's the ADA accessible spaces as well that they could pull in right there within feet of the door. And then the final portion of the exterior design element, in order to make this building not look like another hangar at the airport, the current design uses an insulated double-walled metal panel that looks like it's stuccoed on the exterior, so it still gives it a nice visual element. And then it does have that stone cut block along the bottom as well. I apologize if I'm messing up any of the terminology. Michael will clarify later. Perfect. So next up, we'll move on to the ground floor itself. So as I mentioned earlier, elements of the ground floor on moving from the left to the right. On the far left-hand side, you have 2 restrooms. You have a separate men's and a women's restroom with a utility room in between. Each restroom has 2 stalls, and then the men's restroom also has urinals and sinks. The utility closet would hold hot water heaters, potentially any computer equipment we would need to have, things of that nature. And then moving to the right, there is an airline or a rental car office, then an airline office. That airline office has the office to the rear can be used for baggage storage, and then there's both a personnel door and a baggage door that we can use to pass baggage through to the rear to move it to the aircraft. And then right at the top of the image, you have your planned initial waiting area for passengers with seating. And then on the right-hand side of the image, you have a stairwell leading up to the mezzanine. And then from the top down on this far side, you have an arriving passenger corridor. So this would be for passengers coming from the aircraft into the terminal. And it's designed with these double doors so that we could meet TSA requirements if we chose to go down that route in the future. And then we also have 2 conference rooms. These would initially be used as either a conference room or a boarding gate for the airline, with in the future the option that we can convert those rooms really easily into TSA space. TSA has quite a few requirements for in-floor power for some of their heavy screening equipment and things of that nature. So the idea is we're going to design this now in a way that in the future, if 3 or 4 years down the road we decide we want to go down this route, there isn't a large cost to retrofit the terminal to meet those needs.
When you say baggage storage, you mean baggage security?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, so this area here, we would be able to screen bags in there potentially, depending on how we work that with TSA. There are options. Most small airports manually screen bags rather than running them through some of the large screening equipment that airports like Phoenix have. So we just need space for a TSA agent to be able to manually screen the bags.
I mean, when somebody comes to town here, they get off and they want to leave a bag at the airport, will it be secure? I mean, I don't see lockers or anything like that. Can you secure it?
Typically, Vice Mayor, that's not a service that airports typically offer. That's typically something you would do through your hotel, just because of the liability. That would be an option that would be up to the airline, since the airline would be technically responsible for the baggage. So that would be something that the airline would have to offer, just because of the liability of the storage of somebody's personal belongings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this building is also designed to be a location that we can hold events when the governor comes to town, when some of our state representatives come into town. We can host public events at the airport. Oftentimes, a lot of those dignitaries come in through the airport. They fly in. So this is a great location for us to welcome them, potentially do presentations, meetings, things of that nature as well. And then moving on to the mezzanine is relatively simple. There are 2 offices and a small conference room on this level. This could be used for potential future businesses, a flight school, something of that nature, or it could be used by city staff if we needed it in the future. And then, as with everything in this project is designed that in the future, if everything grows, we want to be able to expand. We don't want to end up in the same situation we are now in another 15 or 20 years where we have a building that no longer meets our needs and there's no way to expand it. So this building is designed so we could expand it easily to the east to increase the area for our passengers. So they would still be screened in the existing rooms. Basically, would make the screening checkpoint would become larger. Would encompass both of those 2 rooms on the right-hand side, and then we'd be able to hold them in that larger expanded area to the bottom of the image, which would be to the east of the existing terminal, and it could be easily added onto. So some quick external design notes. So these are some images of the building from the exterior. The image on the left-hand side is from the front of the building facing towards Mount Graham. The image on the right is facing towards the airport, and it's the exterior entrances. But that's what passengers would see when they're arriving into Safford. And then side images as well that you can see here, both from the east and west sides of the building. The west-facing image being the bottom one, where you can see that entrance door area, the overhang on the right-hand side. And here's a side view as well, showing the location of the mezzanine there on the second floor above the screening area as well. So with that, we move on to the all-important budget. So currently, this project is budgeted for $1.4 million. As we moved through the design process, we encountered a couple of things that we're bringing to council. So first of all, we designed the building itself at a cost of, its cost is estimated for construction at $1.432 million. So that number is well on. But as with all projects now, cost is rising. So we did build a contingency of 20% into both the cost for the construction of the building as well as for the parking lot and the civil improvements, relocation of utilities, things of that nature to support the parking lot. So you can see there a contingency of $358,000 for construction of the terminal building itself, and then a cost of approximately $412,000 for the parking lot with a contingency of $82,000 for a total of $2.284 million for the total. The important thing to note with this project, as with all airport projects that are FAA funded, is this is a contingent. The scope of the project is contingent on the final grant available from the FAA. Because the airport is now transitioning from a general aviation airport to a commercial service airport, that does increase our grant eligibility from the FAA's perspective. It raises some of our project caps for both our pavement projects as well as projects like this. It also moves us higher up the list now that we actually have scheduled passenger service. It's not a future item. We have it now. It's in progress, and we're operating a service that we're well undersized in our current Terminal 4. So that helps us get FAA funding. We have been in communication with the FAA. They have said that the project is correctly sized, the scope is correct, and the numbers are on par with what they would expect. But as with anything in the federal budget, especially considering the current change in administration and some of the stops on grant funding, they won't signal at all whether the project will be funded or not yet, whether they think it'll be eligible. So we have to wait for an actual grant application for that. So with that being said, I'll offer some time if you have any questions for myself, for the architect, for the engineering team, with particulars on the project as we continue to move forward. This is an opportunity for you to provide us with some feedback. The project is currently nowhere near being fully complete. So if there are changes we want to make, if there are things we want to pull back in the scope, if there are things we would like to focus more on, this is the opportunity for council to provide us with that feedback so we know where you would like to go.
Has there been- oh, go ahead.
It's a work session too, so.
Mine was just more on the parking lot.
Yes.
So we're doing 2 ADA, right? And
Correct.
so we know that people are flying out, they're going on vacations, whatever. Do you have any of this designated as long-term parking? Because I would hate to see for someone to park in an ADA spot and then they're blocked up for a couple weeks. Someone else is coming, they can't use the spots. Do we have any, are you sectioning off some of it for long-term parking when people know they're gonna be gone more than a few days? How are we gonna take care of that traffic?
Absolutely. So Mayor, Councilwoman Brantner. So if you look at the image here, that area on the south portion of the parking lot is where a majority of the spaces are, and that will be our long-term area that will encourage folks that are traveling for more than 7 days to park in that area, so we don't end up with some of those spots that are closer to the terminal and our ADA spaces encumbered for long periods of time.
Okay, thank you.
And the security for it,
So
long-term parking?
So that we already have security cameras on the terminal building that cover that area, so they would continue to cover that. And we could add additional security cameras as well if we needed to. There is no physical security currently planned for that area. It would just be easily accessible. Most of the time, airports have some kind of security in place when there's a fee for parking, but we don't have any plans to put in parking fees.
And is there any consideration on any solar being utilized?
So I can let Jenny and Dwayne speak on that a little bit more. So there's no current plan for that, especially with the change in administration. A lot of those programs are probably for the renewable energy programs. I know already some of the programs that were part of the Green New Deal have already been pulled back. So currently there is no solar on the building. The way the program is worded, it encourages environmentally friendly design. So low water use toilets, for example, and faucets, better insulation, higher R values on windows, things of that nature. So this building will incorporate that, but as of right now, we don't have any plan for solar. The roof could support it being a metal building if we chose to in the future, but right now there's no plans for that.
Could you go back to the slide that showed the upstairs?
Yes. Perfect.
I see a lot of empty space there. I'm just wondering, is there other use? You have about 3 offices, maybe. You have upstairs. There's probably, I don't see an elevator there, which would be maintenance cost. But for the upstairs, is there other use besides a conference area for that?
So Mayor, Councilwoman Flores, so just to clarify, so this is a mezzanine, so it doesn't cover the whole upstairs. And those 2 offices would be space we could rent out to another business to generate some revenue. It could be used by the airline, for example, if they needed office space for their pilots. If we had a flight school that needed some office space for flight planning, a potential future FBO, something of that nature, space for them is the primary goal. Or it could be used for airport staff if down the road, 10, 20 years we need that.
Could there be some liability because we don't have an elevator? to go up
So I'll let Michael speak to that. Yeah.
Excuse me, Mayor, members of the council, Michael Taylor. That's part of the reason for keeping the mezzanine small. The ADA and the building codes allow us to have a small upstairs space not accessed by an elevator, as long as those functions can be provided on the main floor.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Councilwoman?
Thank
Perfect. As I'm sure you're aware, adding an elevator would be prohibitively expensive for a project like this. So the goal was to keep the space small, and it would be space that would be used only by staff that would need to access that. And as Michael mentioned, it would be services that could also be provided on the ground floor by the conference room down there.
A lot of this hinges on getting future grants on it. But I didn't hear you say that you thought the current administration was going to be negative towards you on that.
So, Mayor, Vice Mayor Lopez, so we've currently received no signals that the current administration intends to end the bipartisan infrastructure law program. That program is already fully funded, and this is the final year of that project. So while anything could happen, my understanding is at this point that would take congressional act because it's already been passed into law. So unlike some of the other programs that are being temporarily paused, this program is already in place, and there's no plan to currently repeal it.
Because of us going forward, we have an airline, we're doing, our airport's in really good shape. We are more attractive to them grants.
Correct. So now that we have airline service, this makes us a lot more competitive for a project of this scale. If we did not have airline service yet, they would be looking at something more akin to a general aviation terminal without the potential for future TSA space, without needing an airline counter. They'd be looking at something small that maybe needed an FBO counter that could also serve as a rental car counter in a significantly smaller space. The amount of space that the FAA will allow for is based on peak hours for passenger numbers. So we're able to calculate those numbers based on the size of the aircraft that we're currently using at the airport, rather than forecasting a number in the future for something we don't have yet. Now that we have the airline, we have a contract with them for the first year, and they're currently operating. That does make us far more attractive.
We don't have any of these grants currently. We're looking for them. We got started on design. We're still going to have you on the budget coming up.
Correct,
So,
Vice Mayor.
and you asked for contingency already, which that's built into everything we do.
Correct.
But until all that takes place, I still would have to talk when we do our budgeting, what impact it's going to be up so far.
Correct, Vice Mayor. And more than likely, if we received a grant award under the bipartisan infrastructure law airport terminal program, we'd be looking at an award probably around this time next year. So this is something that we can further plan for when we reach the budget cycle. So that's approximately where we're seeing it if we receive a grant award. And then if we don't receive a grant award, then as part of that budget process, we come back and we figure out what other funding sources may be available to us.
So we'll see those numbers when we go through budget to keep it alive.
So we will have some budget numbers for you this year. They may not be final numbers with the numbers from that FAA grant, just because we wouldn't have exact numbers from the FAA yet. But we'll budget for the grant funding so that we could expend the grant funding if we do receive it.
And a good part of this will be determined on what they award as grant money and what the matches are. And, we've got some other monies budgeted in the airport. We have $500,000 for another hangar. Depending on the size of this project and how they want to scale it, obviously the parking lot is adding some additional cost to what would the original 1.4 million. And so it will really be contingent upon how much money we actually get in the grant and what our match component is. I certainly want to have a terminal out there. I want to make sure, though, that it is a priority given all the other demands that we have as well. So we will be looking at whatever that grant comes in at, and then whatever their requirements are regarding any match.
Yeah, because I don't only see this terminal as part of our budget. We also have the industrial park we're working on out there, the road, the infrastructure we got going in there. And we got a business there now that looks good, and everything looks good that way, but it's all part of the moving the shells around.
Exactly, and you have to consider that this will be a project amongst others. And then again, depending on if, the amount of grant funding you get, the match may be relatively small. Now, when we started the project, we really were looking at having $175,000 in design that would get us about a $1.7 million building. This obviously expands that, right? Because we have different amenities now with the parking lot and so on. So in that expansion, how much of that money will actually be covered by grant funding? So we don't know yet. Well, having gotten the airline service, that changes the equation. So we have to wait and see what, if we get any grant funds, we have to wait and see what that amount is, and then what expectations they have of us to get them.
Okay. Definitely don't want to hamper the industrial park that's going in. That's a different vision too. Okay.
And this will be part of the budget. You will see whatever it is we do and have to vote, and that would be part of the budget process.
I don't know if them people, It's up to the mayor. I don't know if the people behind you would want to say something, wouldn't want them to leave if we
That
didn't
was-
ask them. to.
My question,
Yeah.
because we're not so knowledgeable about what's going on, and I'm not saying that Cameron's not thorough in what he's saying, but I would like to hear from the panel of experts about the questions we didn't know to ask and what the answer is. I saw a little bit of that back there behind you guys talking to each other, and I know there had to be something that needed to be said.
So, Mayor, members of the council, I'll start again, Michael Taylor. We've spent quite a bit of time thinking about this project from several factors: user experience, budget, and aesthetics. The user experience kind of starts at the roadway coming in. Can I flip this back? Then I can blow that up. So, sorry. And I hope I'm answering your question appropriately, but as far as the user experience, we've all flown probably in and out of Sky Harbor, other major airports, and the easier it is to get to the front door, to find out where you're going once you get inside the door, those are the keys to a successful airport. This one starts with Airport Way coming in, and if you look at the site plan up there, Airport Way is pointing right at that front door. So as soon as you're driving down that street, you're looking at the front door of the terminal. You know where you're going. Once you get into the terminal, whoops, shrink it. So once you get into the terminal, the doors on the left, you can see, you're looking straight through the building. So you're looking at the TSA line or the hold room, and you're looking through the building because of all the storefront. You're looking out at the mountains, you're looking out at the aircraft on the ramp. It's obvious where you're going right away. Through signage, you know where the bathrooms are, you know where the airport office is. So a lot of thought was put into really a fairly simple, small, economical building. So I hope that's reflected in what you see. Also with the expansion, the fact that the study shows that down the road you may need as much as, I think it was 7,700 square feet of space. We've got that whole space to the east where we can expand, and we've provided 3 opportunities for connection to that. A door from the corridor where the bathrooms are, a door from the airport office, and a door under the stairs near what will become the hold room. All of those connections allow us to expand into that space to the east that Cameron mentioned. In addition, there's glazing on that south side right above where it says floor plan there. That glazing can be removed if the hold room needs to grow. We also may need to add bathrooms there so that people that are in the sterile area after TSA have restrooms to use also. So all that kind of thought goes into what appears to be even a fairly simple building. So I hope that answers your question to start with.
Good start. I'd like to hear from all of you, though.
Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I just wanted to add one additional piece of this. So yes, Cameron, this project in particular is actually phase 1 of this. What we were actually, as a part of the bill law that Cameron spoke about, the bipartisan infrastructure law grant process, the FAA actually requested this first phase of the project in order to justify the sizing so that they would know that the terminal itself would be eligible for funding. So we kind of went over, so they asked for specifically some justification on the sizing. And there was a technical memorandum that was also a part of this project, the conceptual design plans that Michael and his team worked on. But we essentially did a forecast looking at both the general aviation passengers and also the projected, at the time, commercial service forecast. And now the commercial service is actual, they took that into account. And we submitted that to the FAA. And so they are in agreement as far as how we justified the size of this building. And so I just wanted to point that out, that this was an initial step that was requested by the FAA, that we prove that the size of it is justified, and then also to provide some type of conceptual plans before and submitting that with the grant package to justify the FAA's requirements. So, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Dwayne Dana. I'll be the engineer on record on the civil side. So worked with our team to come up with the parking lot layout. You know, we really looked when we did the conceptual design, we really looked at trying to save as much money as we could, but beautifying the area. You know, that's the main point. So where we come in on the civil side, you know, we helped out with the conceptual plan of the parking lot and just making sure the circulation works with the space that we have, minimizing cost as much as we could. So that's what you see when you look at the site plan. I'll agree with Cameron. Like we've done some coordination with the FAA. We've gotten some really positive feedback. They're really appreciative of the study that we prepared, and they gave us good. They said that, you know, it's definitely justified with even like the probable construction costs that we had listed, you know, in this slide. They're saying that the justification is warranted, and they approved us to move forward with the design. And so with that, you know, I definitely agree with Cameron that, you know, this is a justifiable project that's you know, has a really good shot of receiving the BIL grant funding. Thank you.
So as far as right now, you feel the FFA lady, so you feel we are, the boxes have been checked with you, the FAA? That we're in good,
So to clarify, Vice Mayor, Jenny Watts is with Dibbles, so she's our planner, so she works with us to justify this. So she generated the scoping memo. So she's not with the FAA. We communicate directly with the Phoenix Airport District Office, but they have approved the memo. We sent that to them as part of this project, and they did agree that the scope is in compliance with their requirements. They're what are called airport advisory circulars that or ACs that dictate how we conduct a study like this to determine airport terminal sizes and to determine design layout, things of that nature. So this scoping memo and these conceptual plans were done in compliance with those FAA regulations.
I must have heard that during the introduction, but good.
And I will add one final note. So that the purpose of conducting a design project like this was in order to essentially prioritize ourselves for this grant and move us higher up the list. Having a shovel-ready project for the FAA is at the top of their list. So this is what helps push us to the top of the list versus, say, an airport that wants a terminal, maybe has some general ideas about what they want to do, but they don't have anything ready for actual construction. Because of the way this program works, they're looking for projects that are designed and ready to go. So this planning and design process puts us ready for that, so that when that grant cycle comes out, we have a set of plans that we're able to turn into the FAA with cost estimates, say, here's what we need, help us construct this terminal, and then they let us know what they will and won't fund.
Any idea of percentage-wise how much of the grant you usually get?
So, Vice Mayor, with airport terminals in general, they're slightly different from pavement projects in that they're funded based on eligible and ineligible spaces. So eligible spaces being public spaces, so things like restrooms, waiting areas, the TSA screening space, things of that nature, versus ineligible spaces, things that are exclusive to the airport user, which we've really tried to minimize in this building. As you can see, a vast majority of the space in this building is public space. And as part of the second phase of this project, we'll determine the exact percentage and what the match would potentially be on this project. So we don't have those numbers exactly yet. There's a calculation that Jenny and Dwayne will do for that.
So there's a good chance we'll get the largest chunk.
Yes, we will. It will by far be a majority of the cost.
Anything else? That was good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll close the work session and reconvene into our regular meeting. Item number 10, any changes to the minutes of our January 13th meeting? Any corrections or?
Move we approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of January 13th, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We'll move on to item number 11, resolutions. Number 1, Resolution R 25-003. That's waiving of landfill tipping fees for GCRC and St. Vincent de Paul.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Troy Bingham, your Finance Director. This request is for the Mayor and Council to adopt a Resolution R 25-003 establishing a landfill tipping fee waiver and designating Graham County Rehabilitation Center and St. Vincent de Paul recipients of that waiver for the remainder of fiscal year 2025. So I wanted to point out that what we're doing tonight is really just codifying past practices that we've been doing for quite some time. St. Vincent de Paul actually applied in 2011 and GCRC applied in 2009 for this waiver, and we've been honoring that waiver ever since that time. What we're doing today is actually passing a formal resolution that could bind future councils, but we're ending the resolution as of the end of this fiscal year. That allows us during the budget cycle for 2026 to talk more about this subject. So really tonight is, we're not making any big monumental decisions on GCRC or St. Vincent de Paul. We're just codifying what our current practice is, and then through the budget process, we can either allow the waiver to continue in fiscal year 2026, or the second option that we talked about in the last work session was the option of, we already have a nonprofit donation program that we've implemented in prior years. We have $100,000 set aside every budget year to give out to nonprofits. They could be part of that. So there is options going forward that aren't just the waiver. But we can talk about that. We're not making that decision tonight. All we are tonight is just asking for a resolution to keep doing what we're currently doing. We did send out responses after the work session 2 weeks ago to GCRC and St. Vincent de Paul, and Linda Lopez is here tonight. She has a letter attached on page 136 of your packet. You'll see in your packet, and GCRC actually responded in the form of a letter. I don't believe GCRC is here tonight. Oh, GCRC is here tonight, and he's able to speak.
No, well, we just have a,
You have it for Linda.
yeah, for Linda.
Okay. If Mayor would like, you can ask GCRC to also speak if they'd like to tonight, but Linda would like to speak to you guys. And I'll let her do that at this time, and then for her public comment, and then I can respond to any questions you guys have.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for allowing me to come up. So I'm the president for St. Vincent de Paul. And when I kind of got wind of this and then went to my staff about what was going on, we estimate that we do 500 to 600 pounds of trash to the dump like every week or every 2 weeks. And when I take into consideration that people bring in all their trash and they dump it in our place, like Tuesday when we came to work, there's a piano sitting in the middle of the parking lot, and we need the truck for the food because we feed anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 people in this county of 39,000, and that's a whole lot of food. Friday, we delivered 1,200 pounds of food over to the Samaritan Home. But they do drop off trash everywhere. They don't take it to the dump. There's lots, if we catch it, we can refuse it, but it still ends up with us anyway. We serve the community. Let's see, we're going to also be starting a new trial food box program. We were selected for that. Don't ask me how, but we were. And so we're going to be doing that. That's going to start on Tuesday. So, and we do somewhere between 250 to 300 food boxes a month, plus about 100 courtesy food bags that we give out. And that goes to like homeless or people traveling through whatever. So we do generate a lot. We also help the citizens of Safford, Thatcher, and Pima, and Solomon, San Jose, with utility bills. And if we're going to have to pay to use the landfill, we're not going to be able to provide that to our community. So that money that we would normally put towards utilities, we'll have to put to the landfill. So I guess what I'm asking, if there's any way to get a waiver, anywhere from 30 to 50,000, I would really appreciate that. I also did go talk to GCRC and let them know we do a whole ton of recycling. So we probably send 5 tons a month down to Tucson. And that is sorted then to go for missionary works. It is sorted for recycling for glass and plastics and whatever they do. So we're not putting a lot into the landfill any more than absolute necessary. But I am asking, and I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful either, because if it is fair, then it is fair. But it will have a direct impact on the service that we provide. So I don't know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to kind of answer. But I mean, I'm just at a point where I don't know what to do at this point.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Ortega. Lane from GCRC is also here.
Really just wanted to reiterate the same kind of things, that we have the same problem with people using us as an alternative to the landfill. That's part of why this waiver went in place, years and years ago, was to help alleviate some of that. So we greatly appreciate this waiver all these years. I think St. Vincent de Paul probably benefits more than we do. We're a little bit bigger agency. So I'd really like to see that stay in place, even if it's just for them, at least some kind of discount or something. We do pay quite a few landfill fees now. You guys started charging us back a couple months ago. And we do, we have a dumpster that we dump every day, 6-yard dumpster. We pay, $500 a month in just dumpster fees. In addition to the loads we haul out to the dump. Most of what we haul in our truck out to the landfill, that we're talking about the tipping fees out there is what we're really talking about, the waiver on that. Most of that's our big furniture and stuff like that, which that's most of what gets dumped onto us, is just trash. People don't want to pay for those fees, and so they just dump it overnight behind us, couches with no cushions and, stuff like that, just because they didn't want to pay for it. Even instances, I'm sure St. Vincent has the same problem. People just literally dump off truckloads of just household trash, literally nothing in it other than just household refuse, kitchen waste and things like that. They just don't want to pay for the fees, and so they dump it on us. Mattresses that are, dog dug a hole in the middle of it or something like that, just so they don't have to pay for it. So anyway, I appreciate all these years of the waiver and whatever you can do. Thanks.
Thank you.
You have a question for him?
Sorry.
Any general questions you can ask to me, and then I can follow up with GCRC and St. Vincent de Paul and get their answers for those. So feel free to ask them as I come up here, you can speak to me and ask those same questions, right?
I'll follow.
So just one thing I wanted to point out, again, you're not making any decisions tonight. You're just codifying what we're currently doing. That does give them time. If there was a change, that gives them 6 months to adapt to any change. It could be that we just pass this resolution again in fiscal year 2026, and it goes on again for another year or so. So we're not making any big decisions tonight. We're just bringing it to your attention. How this all came to be is that we switched landfill softwares in November of 2024, and the first bill came to GCRC and St. Vincent de Paul, and the waiver was brought to our attention because we weren't even aware in the finance office that we had these waivers. So we are now bringing that same question to you guys. There is waivers that are out there. We're getting those in front of you guys so you guys can make the decision. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me right now. And I will follow up with any questions from St. Vincent de Paul or GCRC or myself.
So this resolution will get them up to the next budget process or the next, I don't remember what we call that, but when we deal with these 501c3s, it'll get us to there and then we'll come back and make another decision. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor and Councilmember McGoy. That is exactly what this is meant to do, is to buy us time, right?
Okay, under that condition, I would move to approve resolution R25003.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution R25-003. That's waiving of landfill tipping fees for GCRC and St. Vincent de Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
This approves resolution number R25-003, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, adopting a landfill tipping fee waiver for nonprofit entities in the city of Safford.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 12. Ordinance number 025-001. It's amendment to Title 17 zoning.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and City Council for a second read and approval or disapproval of ordinance O25-001, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, amending Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.20.010 of the Safford Municipal Code to comply with state statute. Strategic goals are growth and development. In the past legislative session, zoning regulations and the time that municipal processes take to complete was a focus for legislators. Senate Bill 1162 requires that municipalities adopt new regulations that require residential zone change applications to be deemed administratively complete within 30 days of receipt of the application. The City of Safford Planning and Community Development Department processes applications to determine if they are administratively complete within 3 to 5 business days currently. This new regulation will not affect our procedures in any way, as we already exceed the 30-day threshold. Staff recommends a second reading and adoption of ordinance O25-001. In your packet, you have the ordinance Exhibit A and Senate Bill 1162, and this will be the second reading. I will stand for questions.
I appreciate the fact that your department is so much faster than what is required, but I move that we have the second reading and approve ordinance 025-001, the amendment to Title 17 zoning.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 025-001, amendment to Title 17 zoning. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Carries.
you.
This approves ordinance number O25-001, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, amending Title 17, Chapter 17.20.040, application for amendments to comply with Senate Bill 1162.
Thank you, B. Okay, then we'll move on to item number 13. It's a report on operational items. I believe we have the Angel Tree update by.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Here with me tonight are two members of the staff, Charis Lazarus and Mariah Tour. They're going to be giving you a presentation on their 2024 Holiday Angel Tree Program. Before they get into that, I really want to give these ladies a tremendous amount of credit because as part of our ongoing community outreach and public engagement efforts, we're always looking for new ways we can engage and basically get the public to see us in a different light than on calls and different stuff like that. I will tell you, these two ladies have been knocking it out of the park for me, I'll be honest. If you remember a couple months back, I brought the Halloween event. They organized, planned, and helped put that event on with the members from the police department. And they did the same thing for our Angel Tree program. You'll see some of the information they're going to give you with numbers and that, but just the effort they put in to get this organized. Again, I got to give them a tremendous amount of credit because it was a lot of work, and they made it look simple, and especially wrapping presents, I'll be honest. So I will turn it over to them. They're going to give you a short video and then give you some information on it. So.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So before I show this, just to give you a little bit of insight, we did hold a wrapping party. Once all of the presents were donated, we did ask all of our department and their families to come and join us in the wrapping of it to try to just create that bond and that experience. So a lot of the pictures you're going to see are pertaining to the wrapping party. So let me go ahead and get started with that. And just to give you a little bit more information on this, we actually had 22 families participate, which took care of 84 children that were nominated. We had 198 presents that were donated with an approximate value of around $10,000. We did advertise for this event mainly through social media. We did have a great outreach through the community. They were very pleased with our presence there and our efforts, so that was really nice to see. We did have officers, 6 officers, and myself and Mariah did participate in actually sending the gifts out with the families and delivering those. The families were very gracious and very thankful for that. All supplies were donated through the public as well. They came in with just a complete outpouring, so that was really nice to see. Next year, we know now that we can go a little bigger. We can directly impact with the community, and we can advertise more through our social media efforts and word of mouth. We're looking forward to creating even more community engagement.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to also touch on what Cherish said about our next year and how big we want to make it. I'm newer to the Safford community. I've been here since about 2021. But just the outreach from the community, I was very, very pleased even after we had all of our nominations chosen, just with how many people were still coming in and asking like if they could come and help and donate. So just touching on her stuff, just to go bigger next year. So
Thank you. Any questions?
I'd just like to make a comment. I think it's a great job. And I would venture to say, I know 7 volunteers I know about that would rap if they were really asked and made feel guilty if they didn't. Up here. I know.
Mayor, I can't do that. That would be breaking the quorum. Just kidding.
I rapped 1 year. I was down there rapping, and it's fun.
We appreciate the officer, Mayor, and we'll definitely will take you up on that because
can be
those
fun.
videos didn't do the justice of trying to get all these guys to rap. I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but those guys trying to wrap presents was not pretty. I felt bad for some of the kids because
I'll show you.
it looked like they had been unwrapped prior to getting wrapped. So,
Since I was in business, I'll show you how we did Christmas wrapping. And I'm a tightwad. They had to learn how to wrap a box of shoes with 3 pieces of Scotch tape only. And they did it. It can be done. So I'll school them.
well, we definitely will take you up on that offer. We appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move to item number 14. The financial reports. Any questions on the P cards?
we do have things getting renamed, and I appreciate it because, it's described a lot better. But there's still a lot of questions on different things. I think some of it, we are leaking some stuff, you know. Some of it to me seems unnecessary. So I'll bring them questions to you. Not right now, we'd be here all night. Not, okay, because I don't do that. But I don't know, I guess you got one division and somebody from another department is paying for it when it's some kind of tool that don't really have to do with that department. So them are gonna be the questions that I'll have with you when I meet with you. Like, the manager got 2 nameplates at the Mayock. I don't know why, but 2 of them. So,
Good questions. We look forward to any other questions you have, Mayor, Vice Mayor.
okay. That's all, Mayor.
We'll move on to number 2, revenues over 5,000.
I think I had one where there was like $1,300 or something on the other one. I know we moved for training that was for the electric department. I didn't know if that was a monthly or annual. That'll be one of them I'll have for you.
That's a P card question, correct?
Yes. I went past it already, so I don't have it underlined. I did see a nice one when the ladies got back from Washington D.C. after they took care of themselves, went for a really good recognition from the Library of Congress. It seems like they got back to the West and couldn't wait to get In-N-Out Burger. So I guess we only have them out West. So that's kind of neat to see. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, and then we'll go number 3, expenses over 5,000.
Over 5. These are revenues.
I think I just had just a small one on that one. And that's the expenses. So we've listed cost of goods sold at the golf course. Are we now tracking that? So we've got like $99,000 that we spent. Are we tracking that and income now too? Because I don't know that I've seen cost of goods at the golf course.
Correct. You have 2 things that we haven't tracked in the past with previous budgets. At golf course, we track all of their revenues, so we bring in everything that they bring in, and then we track all of their expenses. It's broken up in the budget into cost of goods sold. So there's stuff that they buy for food and for resale, but then there's also operations. So this is just part of their overall monthly budget that they have at the golf course.
So for the 100,000, is that 1 month of their
It
expenses?
would be 1 month. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Your golf course is a $1.5 million operation annually.
Didn't realize we spent that much out
I would like some clarification on that because those are revenues we've actually received into our account that we are now giving back to the golf course. Is that not correct?
Correct. Most 90% of the money that we send out in the form of these expenditures get reimbursed in the form of fees at the golf course.
there. So the cost of goods sold, just to clarify that, is that like they're selling food, alcohol,
Correct.
teas?
They have to buy it in order to sell it. So we show the full expense and we show the full revenue.
Okay.
But when you net those 2 together, that's what you actually have as an annual a profit or loss at the golf course.
Gotcha.
The pro shop, you have to buy golf bags that get resold. I mean,
And we're showing that we're getting that income somewhere.
correct. If you look at revenues over 5,000, you should be showing it there. They come in smaller chunks. That's the thing, is they don't come in as one lump sum. You get small payments of $45 green fees, things like that. So you wouldn't really see it on the revenue report unless you had a large transaction that occurred over 5,000. But you are getting in about $1.1 million of revenues in just fees.
Okay, then we'll close the regular meeting and reconvene into executive session.
Are we done with revenues?
I think we got all the way to expense, Vice
Yeah,
Mayor.
way to expense, okay.
Do you have a question?
Yes, on the Graham County Treasurer property tax, I see that, but officer safety and opioid distribution, how much longer is the opioid and that officer safety gonna last?
I'm not aware of the officer safety, the opioid funding. Anytime they reach a new settlement with another affected party, you get additional funds. So the recent one that we just approved was for Kroger to settle. So there is future lawsuits out there of companies that have not settled with the class action. So you will see future funding. I think we're up to almost $250,000 for just our community.
And these are forms of one-time monies we just happen to get.
One-time money that have a lot of restrictions. It has a 99-page document on how you can and can't spend them.
Okay, and you'll figure out the officer safety.
Yeah, I can ask about officer safety. I'm not quite sure. Just look at that as a lump sum from Graham County. They'll lump our property tax, everything that they're going to send us for the month. They do it as one big transaction.
That's all, Mayor. I mean it.
Mayor, I move that we meet in executive session after a 5-minute break.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the regular meeting and reconvene into executive session after about a 5-10 minute break. All in favor?
Moral support.
Okay, we'll close the executive session and reconvene into our regular meeting. We'll go item 18, new business. Number 1,
Sorry, I didn't actually, I forgot I prepared this.
okay,
Yeah, my help.
change to fiscal 2025 compensation plan for landfill full-time customer service representative.
Mayor, council, this is a new action that you've never really done here at the city of Safford. I'm used to it at other governments. I like to put some sort of control in place when it comes, budget is a good control for the council, right? You set our budget, you set our maximum. A compensation plan is typical at other governments. You set how many FTEs we have, how much those FTEs get paid. That's part of the compensation plan. So if we're gonna make a change in a part-time to a full-time status, you're making a change in the compensation plan. It sounds more glorious than what it is, but really what we're here today is to request mayor and council to change the fiscal year 2025 compensation plan for the landfill full-time customer service representative from a half-time position to a full-time position. I turn the time back over to council to debate and vote on this.
That's the only red you got.
Yes.
That
What is red?
Red change.
Oh.
Yeah, what's red to me?
Correct. This is a control that can be in place that we have to live within this control.
Mayor, I move that we approve the change to the FY 2025 compensation plan for landfill full-time customer service representative.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to change the fiscal year 2025 compensation plan for the landfill full-time customer service representative. All in favor? Opposed? Did you get? Yeah, okay, motion carries. Then we'll go to item number 2, the library and golf course IGA.
Is this me or you? No, it's you. I can do it. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for the mayor and city council to direct staff to negotiate a new intergovernmental agreement for library and to renegotiate the current intergovernmental agreement with the golf course with Graham County, Town of Thatcher, and the Town of Pima. Strategic goals include intergovernmental cooperation and financial management. Background, City of Safford, Graham County Library currently operates with no intergovernmental agreement on funding, and the sole financial responsibility lies with the City of Safford to operate, maintain, and improve the library and its services. Mount Graham Golf Course currently operates with an intergovernmental agreement on funding with just the Town of Thatcher. Use and availability of golf course and financial responsibilities are not equally shared to operate, maintain, and improve the golf course, to which I would add countywide. Recommended action, the mayor and council direct staff to negotiate a new intergovernmental agreement for the library and renegotiate the current intergovernmental agreement for the golf course with Graham County, the Town of Thatcher, and the Town of Pima to be more equally shared financial responsibility. And with that, Mayor, I turn it over to you.
We're talking library and golf course. That's all we're talking about right now.
That is correct, Vice Mayor.
Mayor, I move that we approve a direction to staff to negotiate new IGAs for the library and the golf course.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve new library and golf course IGAs to direct staff for that. All in favor? Opposed? It carries. Then we'll go to item number 19, announcement of current events.
I would like to see for current event, oh no, we're going for agenda item, never mind. I'm going back for agenda item next. I'm not talking about 19.
Item 20, request for future agenda items.
future agenda items, I would like to make sure we bring back what we're gonna do on 20th Avenue. With new apartments and RV gonna add to the congestion on 20th Avenue. That's something in the future. Maybe we need another street light consideration in the middle where El Paso may come out if the infrastructure's there. Ask staff to make sure when the shift changes take place in there, there's some added patrolling going on. Maybe too, we have larger trucks utilizing that corridor than what we planned were gonna take place there, 18-wheelers and stuff. Is there something we can do about that to limit it in the future? These are just discussions I would like to have with all of you in the near future.
We'll take care of it.
And item number 21.
Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? We're adjourned.
You're not